What's up, y'all? It's your man, Derek Andre, and you're watching Who is Derek Andre TV, and it's Monday. And that means that it is time to kick off a very fresh episode of, you guessed it, Totally Disgusted. Let's get started. This is Totally Disgusted with your host, Derek Andre. All right. What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Derek Andre. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope you had a very exciting and exhilarating weekend. My wife and I had a good weekend. We went to, what did we do Saturday? What did we do Saturday? Saturday we got up, we went to the car wash, we did little bit of running around. And look, I had to think about it too. I'm like, what did we do Saturday? Did a little bit of running around and stuff, went to the car wash, got our car washed and did all that kind of stuff, filled up the gas tank. We went to a new park. We went to, I can't think of the name of the park, but it's in downtown Atlanta, or in Atlanta. I won't say downtown Atlanta. It's a fairly new park. It used to be like a rock quarry. And we went to that park, and it was cool. We picked the wrong time of day to go to the park. I ain't going to even lie to you. It was hot. It's blazes on that trail. And we felt it. We felt all of it. All of it. We felt it. So then we left the park, had a good little walk. It was a little warm out there, but we had a good little walk. And so we decided to try to find something to eat. So we wound up in Decatur, downtown Decatur, and we stumbled across a Pan-African festival. We hung out down there for a little while, and we got some Mexican food, which was very delicious. And so we had a full day. And then yesterday, we kind of hung out around the house for a little while, and then my wife needed to get some shots for a project that she's working on. So we went and took some photographs for her project, and yeah, and that was our weekend. So let me know how your weekend was in the comments, all right? So listen, if you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome. I appreciate you taking the time to stop by and hang out with me. If you are new, then by all means, please subscribe. All right, click that subscribe button and also click the reminder bell so you never, ever have to miss another video. OK, that is important to help the channel's growth. I've been trying to grow this channel for several years now, and I got a lot of content on here I think you would enjoy. And I'm constantly adding more. I'm trying to become more consistent in the adding of content on my channel. So if you subscribe and click that reminder bell, then you don't have to miss it. And you can also tell a friend. And any video that I produce and put out, by all means, please leave a comment. Let me know you liked it, or if you didn't like it, leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I prefer the thumbs up, but if you got to be honest and you ain't like it, then you ain't like it. It's no problem. I have no problem with that whatsoever. All right. So we're not going to spend too much time on all the formalities. We got all that stuff out of the way, subscribe, reminder bell, all of that. If you're out and about and you're looking for some merch, by all means, check out my website as well, derekandre.com. All right, but today's topic is, and I don't even know why I thought about this subject matter, but I did. But today's topic is, are people afraid to get married? Are people afraid to get married? I've been married now. This is my second marriage. All right, this is my second marriage. I've been married now for going on 14 years. And I'm so thankful for my beautiful wife. But this is my second marriage. The first marriage, I think we were maybe happy 3 of the 6 years. Or how long? Yeah, 3 to 6 years, and then the second half of it was basically separation and then divorce. All right, so but it didn't deter me. It didn't deter me from wanting to do it again, because I believe that marriage is an amazing thing. I believe that if you can find the right person, that marriage is something that you can enjoy and so can your partner. I think, being able to share, common goals together, and to be able to have someone to grow old with and spend time with and just enjoy someone's company for the rest of your life is actually a pretty cool concept. And so I appreciate being married, even after going through a really kind of crazy divorce. You know, I talked to, so growing up, I was always around, around a lot of my older family members. Okay. So a lot of my great aunts and uncles, a lot of my older cousins and all of that stuff, they were all married, and they stayed married until they literally death did them part, until they passed on. And I was inspired by that. My grandparents were married like 60 years, and so I was inspired by that. My mom tried the marriage thing, and the person that she married, she will be quick to tell you she messed up. Because, well, I won't say she messed up. He just put on a good front. He put on a good front. And once all the truth started coming out, we realized this dude wasn't what he said he was. And so, but I didn't grow. So having said that, I didn't grow up directly in a household where I was around a married couple. It was just me and my mom and my sister, and so that's what I grew up around. But I did get the benefit of coming from a very close-knit family who has reunions every year and got together for holidays and all of that stuff. So I was always around married couples, and to the best of my knowledge, happily married couples. And so I wanted to be married. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a family for myself. Now, there were some things that I didn't know about the overall dynamics of what a marriage is, but I had to learn because, it's all a part of it. And so, my first marriage was probably a trial marriage. That was the starter. That was a starter marriage. Same for my wife, because it's her second marriage as well. But I enjoy being married. I enjoy waking up to my wife. I enjoy watching her bounce around the house and do, her thing and just be herself and just enjoy I just enjoy being married. But I wonder if other people feel the same way, especially black people. Now, when I was a construction worker, I used to always hear guys talk about, how marriage sucked and nobody wanted to be married, and, they were all divorced and they were drinkers and all this kind of stuff. And that for me was kind of disheartening. It didn't change my opinion on wanting to be married, but it did make me ask the question, why are people getting married, or are people not getting married because they're hearing stories like these guys were telling? They would tell the stories of the divorce. They wouldn't necessarily tell the story of the overall marriage. They would tell the story of the divorce, how when the divorce was over, and these were guys telling me this stuff, how when the marriage was over, they go through the divorce, the wife takes the house, she gets the boat, the truck, the Harley Davidson, she get the dog, the kids, and all he get is the opportunity to pay for all of it. And so, those are the stories that these guys will be sharing on the job. And I am so grateful that I had some other things to bounce off of. It wasn't just me hearing these bitter guys tell me about their horrible experience as husbands and now ex-husbands, that I had to play off of. I actually had happy couples around me that I could physically see, hey, Aunt so-and-so and Uncle so-and-so, they really do love each other. They really are, And so now it's 2025, and I look around and I look at how society moves, and I don't see people with a sense of urgency to get married. There's a lot of people that, be like, you don't have to have, the government and all this, that, and the other, and blah, blah. And I get all of that. I mean, I don't disagree with, whatever, that's your business. That's how you see it. If you don't feel like a piece of paper is a binding piece of paper is worth it to you and you can be with this person forevermore. Okay, that's fine. But then you also do have to think, if you're going to spend 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 years with a person and you accidentally, what's going to happen to y'all stuff? If, you've been with somebody that long, you know what I mean? But that's a whole nother part for a whole nother conversation. But that is something to think about. But I do wonder, with the way society moves nowadays, if the desire to get married has been completely squashed and minimized. Because now celebrities are just like making babies and that. No, nobody's going to get married. Everybody's doing all like the married stuff. But just a lot of people are not trying to just get married, to have that's long-term special someone. And I'm wondering what it is. What is making people afraid to make that commitment? I mean, because at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's a commitment. And there's nobody that you will ever run into that's going to be perfect. Okay, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you get involved with. I don't care about any of that stuff. There's no such thing as a perfect person. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. There's no such thing. Marriage is just a series of what's the term I'm looking for? A series of oh my God, I can't think of the term I'm looking for. A series of it'll come to me. But you're not going to get a perfect person. I mean, that's just impossible, because nobody is perfect. All right. There's no such thing as a perfect person. So if you're going into a marriage or any relationship thinking that it's going to be perfect, then you're going about it all wrong. That's just not how it is. You're just going to have to find somebody that you're content with. And you have to have certain things that you're willing to accept. And there's also going to be things that you don't accept, and you just have to know that going in. And I think a lot of times people hear the stories. A lot of people are so hung up on like celebrity relationships and things like that. And people hear all of these horror stories and all this negativity. And I think maybe that plays a big part in it, because back in the day, man, black folks used to get married, man. For a while, we were married more frequently than other ethnic groups. We honored the commitment. We loved each other. We wanted to raise our families together. We wanted to see our children grow up together. We wanted to have that relationship. That was who we are as a people. You look overseas, anywhere, that we are people that like to be married. We like the commitment aspect of love and marriage and all of that. But somewhere along the line, that began to deteriorate. I don't know if it happened during like the 60s and 70s, late 60s, early 70s, when the economy was kind of crazy and, people were coming back from the wars and they was trying to find work. And you know how black folks always end up getting crapped on. And so, we would be struggling trying to get meals and trying to feed our families. And the government would be like, well, if you want welfare, you need to get food stamps. That's great. We'll do that for you. The man just can't be in the house. So I don't know if it was that. I don't know if it's if it was mass incarceration. But there is something that came along and interfered with the frequency that we as a people would get married, because we used to be the most married group. We would get married, man, and be married and stay married and live happily forever after. I mean, happily forever. No marriage is perfect, but just think about it. I'm 54. So just think about it. about your aunts and uncles and stuff like that that's older. If you come from a pretty close knit family, just think about how many of your older and senior family members are legitimately still married, are legitimately hanging on to that relationship. They done watch the kids grow up. They doing things with the grandkids. They traveling. They living life. Think of the family members, the older family members around you, and think about their marriage. And I know everybody ain't gonna stay married, and I know every marriage ain't perfect. Shoot, my grandparents was married for, like I said, 60 years. And for part of them years, my grandmother, hey Marjorie, my grandmother and grandfather was in two different parts of the house. My grandfather, he spent a lot of his time, excuse me, he spent a lot of his time out in his shed that he built, and my grandmother was in the house tending to my mother and my aunt and my. So yeah, all marriages are not going to be perfect, but he never left. There were no outside kids. He would come in regardless of what kind of relationship they had. She always made sure that there was food on the table for him. He would come in and he would eat. He might not talk to nobody while he was in there, but he was going to come in and he was going to eat. And then he was going to go back out in the shed and he was going to do his thing, and she was going to stay in the house and she was going to do her thing. But eventually they got back together. They worked it out. Whatever the issue was that was keeping them apart got resolved, and they got back together. So think about your family. Think about your family and the people in your family that are married and the people in your family that have endured. You know what I mean? And endured it. That's right. He did. So just think about the people in your family that endured. When I think, so this will be, coming up will be our 62nd annual family reunion is coming up next year in 2026. When we go to these reunions, I can always guarantee that when I see Aunt so-and-so, I was going to see Uncle so-and-so. You know what I mean? If I saw cousin so-and-so, I was going to see cousin so-and-so's husband or cousin so-and-so's wife. I have been seeing families and marriage and all of that stuff all of my life. And so I just have to wonder if the things that society did to us as a people played into the fact that we just are not getting married the way that we used to. Babies are being made. I see people, man, they be throwing baby showers for these kids and these young folks, man. And I see the mama, I see the pregnant belly, but I don't always see the daddy. That cannot be the narrative, y'all. We can't. If you can commit to a person long enough to make this baby, you should be able to commit to a person long enough to get them to the altar, so that you can raise that baby properly. When that baby is born, mommy shouldn't go to her house and daddy shouldn't go to his house. Y'all need to go home. Y'all need to go home. I made that mistake. And I tell people all the time, I have no problem with saying I made that mistake because I was not aware of the things that I'm aware of now. Like I said, I saw the dynamic of marriage, but I didn't understand things. And I was young and I was goofy. And so when my son was born, me and his mom weren't married. And so I was a baby daddy and she was a baby mama. And now that I'm older, I understand that is not how it should be. But nowadays, it seems as though that is the narrative. The narrative is, that's cool. I don't need to wife you. I don't need to husband you. I just need that baby. And we can do this child support thing. And I don't need to be bothered with you. And so then you have all of these blended families. You got all these strangers raising strangers' kids. And I mean, it becomes a big old thing, man. You have all of this drama and all kind of stuff going on. Let me see what my cousin's saying. She says, cousin, and one more thing about our family is we, young people never knew that there was something. That's exactly right. We didn't know if there was. That's what I was saying. It might have been. It might have been some drama going on. But when we came together, we didn't know it. I can tell you, I've been to a vast majority of our family reunions, and if there was ever any problems, we didn't know. I ain't never seen a fight at our family reunion. I ain't never seen no arguments at our family reunion. I ain't never heard nobody raising their voice at our family reunion. And we had them annually. And we got together throughout the year because we would get together for Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. And we would get together for the 4th of July. And then, the younger family members would get together with the other younger family members. We did things all throughout the year. And even if there were things that were going on within the household, the nucleus of the household, we didn't hear about it until, excuse me, until maybe somebody ended up getting a divorce. Because there are some divorces in our family. Ain't nobody's family perfect. But we didn't know about it until it was a done deal. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, like I said, that for me taught me, hey, you know what? Let me just deal with my situations at home. I want to be married. I want to know what it's like to be married. I want to see it for myself. And once I did it, and I realized, okay, as I got older, okay, these are the things that I need to do in order to make this marriage work, in order for me to understand this wife, this woman, because you're bringing two different backgrounds together. Sometimes you're bringing two different cultures together. You're bringing two different economic situations together, and you're trying to bring different religions, all of this stuff. You're bringing all of this stuff together into one situation, and you're trying to make it work. So yes, there are going to be problems. But I think divorce and people breaking up and cheating, because sometimes people get married too soon. Sometimes people get married too soon. They think that they know who they're marrying, and they don't. And you're not just marrying the person that you shared them vows with. You marrying that person, and you also marrying their family. It's a package deal. You marrying her or his mother. You marrying his or her father. You marrying his or her cousins. It's all a package deal. That's what in-laws are. That's the part of the package. They are part of it. So when you finally settle down and think, okay, I'm going to get married, don't just think you're marrying the person that you share vows with. You are marrying that person's family. And you need to understand who this person is and what they're all about. You may not want to marry into a family and half of them are serial killers. You know what I'm saying? But you got to do your research. And I think a lot of times people end up in divorce court because they get married for the superficial reasons. And then when the superficial reasons don't work out anymore, then guess what? Now you're starting to realize, wait a minute, I might have married the wrong person. I might have gotten involved with the wrong person. So now here you are. Couple years down the line, y'all done invested in some stuff. Y'all might have a kid or two. And then you realize that you didn't do enough of your research and your background missions to figure out who it is that you're marrying and why you and this person. And then you end up in divorce court. And sometimes divorce is good. Okay. Sometimes you do realize that you made a mistake and you getting out of this situation because, this ain't, but at least you tried. There's a lot of people that I think are afraid to try. So let me show you guys some statistics here. Let's pull up some statistics here. All right, so this kind of blew my mind a little bit. All right, this kind of blew my mind a little bit. So as you can see, this is Black marital status. All right, I'm not exactly sure when this data was from, but I would say it got to be relative, say 2024. All right, so check this out. Black women, 27% of black women are married as of 2024, according to this graph. Separated, 3%. Divorced, 13%. Widowed, 8%. Never married, 49%, y'all. Half of the black women that are of marrying age in this country have never been married. Half the women. Think about that. Black men, 34%. Now I want you to take this into consideration here. 34% of black men are married, 3% separated, 10% divorced, 2% widowed, 51% never married. That's even more than half. But check this part out right here. The 34% means that these brothers is getting married, but they ain't marrying black women. They are not marrying black women. So that means 7% of these guys are marrying women that are not of African American descent. So brothers are trying to get married, but they just, for some reason, think that they ain't supposed to marry black women. I got a whole, I could do a whole nother podcast on that, you know. But so across the board, say all of the USA, 48% of people are married, 2% are separated, 10% divorced, 6% widowed, 34% never married. Now let's look at marriage by race. All right. Married. Black people married. 31% of us are married. 50% of us, which is what we just saw in the other chart, never been married. All right. Hispanic people. 43% of them are married. 3% separated, 8% divorced, and 3% widowed. 43% never married. White people. 53% of marrying age white people are married. 1% separated, 11% divorced, 6% widowed, and 28% never married. Asians. 59% of Asians are married. 1% separated, 5% divorced, 4% widowed, and 31% never married. Now, you tell me. That's that's wild. That means that of marrying age black folks, only half of us or half of us ain't never been married. But that don't mean we ain't still out here doing marriage stuff. That don't mean we ain't still shacking up. That don't mean we ain't still making babies. And then 34% of the brothers is married. But that means 7% of them ain't marrying black women. So are people afraid to get married? And if so, why are they afraid? What is it that is keeping people, particularly people of color, from getting married? Where did we go wrong? How did we, over about a 30-year period, go from being the most married to damn near the least married? What is the cause of that? Is it economics? I mean, because black folks been struggling to make it through this country. That ain't slow us down. So I don't think economics is playing a part in why we are not getting married as much as we used to. Because if that was the case, then we wouldn't be making as many doggone babies. Because we still making babies. It's kids that go to school together that's got the same daddy, different mamas, got different last names. They be siblings. We ain't slowed down on making babies, but apparently we've slowed down on making children. Why is that? I can see that, but if you take your time and research the person that you're getting involved with, you may not fail. You may not fail. If you rush into it and you do it for all the wrong reasons, and you don't learn about the person you're marrying, you don't learn about their family, then yes, you may fail. But that's not even really a failure. That's just a lesson. That's just a lesson to say, okay, if I'm going to do this again, then I need to take my time and I need to do some research before I go rushing to the altar to, to tie the knot with this person. I need to learn who I'm marrying, you know. So I get that people don't want to fail, but that it ain't slowed them down from making babies. To me, that's an L right there. If you don't value your partner enough to create a full on life with them, then why would you make a baby with them? Because baby making is easy. Baby making is easy. It don't take nothing to make a baby. You know what I'm saying? It don't take nothing to make a baby. It takes a matter of seconds to make a baby, but it takes damn near a lifetime to make a marriage and to make a family. So are we avoiding marriage because we taking the easy way out and just saying, I can just keep my genes going, by making a few babies here or there, but I don't need to do. No, man, the making baby part is easy. Anybody can make a baby. You don't need no special skills to make a baby. Not a single skill do you need to lay down with somebody and make a baby. But being married takes work. So are we lazy now? Over the years, have we become lazy and we don't want to put in the work to stay married and to put in the work? Because it's not easy. It's impossible for it to be easy to bring people in from different backgrounds and different economic backgrounds and different religious backgrounds and this, that, and the other, So is that it? Have we gotten lazy? What you say, Mom? The value system has changed over time. It has changed over time. And it has not changed for the better. We have to go back to a point to where we value family over just procreation. Family has to be the thing. But then you also have to understand that if a person comes from a broken family, the likelihood of them seeing the value, and I mean, when I say broken family, I don't mean just a single parent household. I mean like for real broken family values. Then they may not see the benefit of getting married and building a life with someone. Because if you're broken, they always say hurting people hurt people. So if you're broken, you may not see the value in it. And it goes back to what my cousin said. You don't want to fail. You're afraid to fail. But it don't have to be like that. I think another reason too is the stuff that, so, when you think back to, and I'm going to use television, as an example. When you think back to television, I Googled the other night. I'm going to see if I can pull it up while we're talking. I Googled shows like The Cosby Show that are like modern, like current shows like The Cosby Show. Let me see. Hold on. Modern. Let me see if I can pull it up. Modern shows for black families like The Cosby Show. So I went and looked, and I'm gonna switch screens right now so y'all can see. All right, I'm gonna pull this up. Modern show. Now, what I typed in was modern shows like The Cosby Show. What do we have? Because a lot of our value system was built when you think of like Good Times and stuff like that, and The Cosby Show and other stuff like that. It taught us values. My Wife and Kids. So let me show you the shows that came up when I did this search. All right, the shows that came up was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Now, mind you. The Cosby Show stopped airing excuse me regularly in the early 90s. So these shows that they're showing us, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I ain't say 90s shows from the 90s, shows from my youth. I said modern shows for black families like the Cosby Show. They got the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Everybody Hates Chris, Girlfriends, Living Single, Martin, The Jeffersons, Good Times, A Different World, My Wife and Kids, That's So Raven, The Bernie Mac Show, The Parkers, Blackish, Sanford and Son, The Jamie Foxx Show, 227, Family Matters, Grownish, Moesha, Sister, The Cosby Show, The Wayans Brothers, What's Happening, and Abbott Elementary. Now, out of all of those shows I just read off, majority of them was from the same era as the Cosby Show. The only ones that weren't were like Blackish and like Abbott Elementary and stuff like that. But all that other stuff was from the same era. So, having said all of that, material things are taken. Yeah, they have. They have, man. You're right. But having said all of that, there are no real solid depictions. Even if you didn't come from a two-parent household growing up, you could still see family settings if you watch television. But now when you turn on TV, what do you see? Everything is drama. Everybody is fighting. Everybody is arguing. You know, it's a lot of these reality shows where it shows people in chaos. They incorporate all this drinking. Nothing about the images that we see on television make you think about family, make you think about settling down, make you think about creating an environment that is loving for your children and for future children and your grandchildren and this, that, and the other. The stuff that is fed to young people nowadays is just basically it's trash. And I'm not trying to stomp on people's creativity, but I don't think creativity exists anymore. I don't think people want to take the time to create positive images, especially as it pertains to black people, because it does not fit the narrative that they try to sell about who we are as a people. So yeah, we don't have shows nowadays that show positive black family images. We just don't. Yeah, and back then we had shows and stuff that were not always, family centered and this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? Oh, thank you, Marjorie. I appreciate that. We didn't have, everything wasn't always, roses and flowers and all of this kind of stuff. It just wasn't. But we had things to balance off of. I was talking to my wife the other day, and matter of fact, I think it was Saturday, and I was talking about how, we always be fussing at our kids and the younger generation about the music that they're listening to and how it could be trash and the lyrics would be bad and this, that, and the other. And when you go back and you listen to some of our music, our music was pretty much trash too. I can't tell a lie. But the difference was we had things and musical artists and songs that could counteract it. You know what I mean? We had love songs. We had rappers that were positive rappers. Everybody wasn't Molly Percocetting and doing all this other. There was a sense of balance in our music. So if we had on one side, if we had gangster drug dealing music, on the other side we had, liberation music and power to the people. We had balance in our music, just like we also had balance in our shows. And I think the reason that people are not running to get married anymore is because there's no balance. Nothing is showing the positive side of a relationship. Everything is showing drama, because I get the drama sells. I understand that. I totally understand that drama sells. Just like sex sales and everything. I get that there is a huge market for drama, and there's a huge market for chaos. I understand that. So from a monetary position, yes, I get it. You're gonna do what is going to make the money, but when do values play a role again? What'd you say, Ma? I said I heard another podcaster say that the fear of divorce overpowered by the desire to get married. I agree with that. I can totally agree with that. Because the way the system is set up, and it's kind of unfortunate, but it leans more towards the woman in divorce situations like custody, stuff like that. I went through a custody battle with one of my kids, and it took the judge to finally tell the guardian ad litem and all the folks on my ex's side to stop trying to make this baby go back into an environment that's not safe for her. They were doing everything they could to take my baby and put her back into the environment because they lean more towards the women. So from a man's perspective, I can say, okay, I can understand that. If you are afraid that you're going to lose everything that you done worked for, because men, I'm going to be honest with you, they got prenups and all that. Men are not always quick to want to do prenups and stuff like that. Not that men don't want to protect themselves, but I think I'll just speak from my position on that. If I think enough of you to marry you, I pray that my judgment in doing so, and people might think it's foolish, but I pray that my judgment in doing so will prevent me from having to do like a prenup. You know what I mean? I'm not faulting anybody that does, but I just feel like if I think enough of you to marry you, because if I go into this marriage thinking that it's going to fail, then why am I marrying you? What's the point? You know what I mean? What is the point? What is the point of me marrying somebody and thinking it's going to fail? I used to hear guys all the time. They'd be like, yeah, man, I hope this works, talking about their marriage. And I'd be like, bruh, how you going to go into a marriage with the mindset of, I hope this works? Then you need to take more time. You didn't take enough time to evaluate the situation. You didn't take enough time to look at the person that you're marrying. Because if you're going into this relationship with the mindset of, I hope this works, then it's not. It's not going to work. Because you're already going into this union with doubt. You're already doubting the structure and the stability of your marriage because you like, I hope this works. I don't know what the answer is. I don't have a clue of what the answer is to eliminate or alleviate the fear of marriage is. I don't know what the answer is. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a magic wand that could be waved or anything that can be, just put in place to make people be like, oh yes, I want to get married. I think what it's going to do is going to take time. I believe that it's going to take time for people to understand and see the value in marriage again, and then build from there. When that starts, I don't know. What do you say, Ma? I dislike that marriage is 50-50 relationship. I think it should be looked at as 200%. That's right. If you 50%, if you 50% and you lose 3%, now you're down to 47% of giving in this relationship. So you already giving less than half if you done started with half. Every relationship has to be 100% 100%. You can't come into a relationship, it's 50-50. Then you already failing. You already failing. It's just that's the bottom line. You have to come into a relationship 100%. You have to take the time, which is something that a lot of people don't do. You have to take the time to make sure that you are 100% before you enter into a relationship. But a lot of times people are afraid to take the time to figure out who they are and learn from their mistakes. Accountability is a killer of relationships. People don't want to be accountable for the decisions that they've made over the past and that may have jeopardized or ruined a past relationship. And then what they do when they don't want to hold themselves accountable, the next thing that they do is they jump right back into another relationship. So you don't even know what broke the last one. And then you're going to jump into a new one. You don't know what part you played in destroying this last relationship. Because no matter what, every single person in a relationship that failed played a part in the failure of that relationship. Now, your part may not have been as big as the other person's part. Your part might have been bigger. Your part might have been half and half. Y'all most might have been trifling. But every single person who has ever been in a relationship and that relationship has failed played a part in the failure of that relationship. Now, the question becomes, can you hold yourself accountable for the failure, that the part of the failure of that relationship that you played a part in? Most people cannot do it. Most people don't want to be the one that was wrong. Most people don't want to be the one that screwed up. Nobody. Okay, if you play on a team, you on a track team, and you run in a relay. Of course, you don't want to be the one that drops the baton. Nobody wants to be that person. But if you are the one that drops the baton, then you have to have accountability and say, you know what? I took out too early. You know what? I wasn't focused. My hand was in the wrong position. You have to be able and willing to hold yourself accountable for the mistake that you made in that given situation. But most people don't want to do that. Most people find it easier to just walk away, lick their wounds, and go start a new relationship and ruin somebody else's life. So imagine if two people who don't want to hold themselves accountable that do the same thing, they end the relationship and go jump in. Imagine when they get together. That's why we have all these chaotic relationships. That's why we have all of these chaotic marriages. Unless I feel like this. Unless you are in physical danger and you're married. If you're in physical danger, if that person has some sort of a chemical dependency or some sort of addiction, you know what I mean? If that person is physically violent, if that, you know, if your life is in danger in this marriage, then by all means, get your coat, get on up out of there. Okay. I wholeheartedly agree with that. If the person is just reckless, they just throw your money away and then, okay, that was probably part of your fault because you probably should have paid attention to that because people don't change overnight. That means that person was probably like that when y'all got involved. You have to, you got to hold yourself accountable. But I forgot what I was saying. And that I forgot what my point was. But if it's just typical marital stuff, okay? If somebody loses their job, that's not grounds for divorce. That's outside world messing with your inside life. You can't hold a person responsible because they got laid off from work, okay? If you have a medical situation, okay, that's not grounds for divorce. You understand what I'm saying? If there are things outside of the fault of your partner that is creating problems within the relationship, that is not grounds for divorce. Grounds for divorce are like straight up irreconcilable differences. Things that you know that it just ain't gonna get no better. And I need to cut my losses. That's when you get a divorce. But if you're gonna get a divorce just because you mad because he didn't put the toilet seat down 3 days in a row and you went in there and sat on that cold porcelain, or you want to divorce him because he didn't cut the grass for 3 weeks in a row and now your backyard look like, the rainforest. Okay, that's not it. That's a conversation. That's where communication comes in. That's where y'all sit down and y'all talk and say, hey, listen, can you please put the toilet seat down? Can you go outside? Can you cut this grass? And take this trash with you on your way out. I don't think that there are roles anymore as far as what husbands and wives should do, because the way society is and the way the economics work, most families are working families unless you're wealthy, unless you built a degree of wealth. So I don't think the roles are still there. I think men should cook and do laundry and help around the house just like a woman should. And I think if a woman's got the money and his money is tight, then I think if we need to pay these bills, I think you should be okay with paying the bills for the place that you sleep. I don't think that a woman should be forced to pay all the bills because he don't want. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that given certain situations and circumstances, we as people have to do things differently. And that also might play a part in why people don't want to get married. Because people sometimes don't want to. They have these notions in their head that this woman gonna cook, clean, she gonna, be a freak in the bedroom and do all this, that, and the other. And it don't always work like that. And some women have these preconceived notions that this man gonna be a Superman. He gonna build me a house from scratch. He gonna be able to, build me a car from the ground up and hold the car with one hand and change the flat with the. We have a lot of these different ideologies of what a partner could be, but that is not reality. We don't live in a world where one person can really work and the other person can stay home. We don't live in that world no more. That world don't exist no more. Everybody in the house need to work. You need to figure out how to get them dogs and them cats and them babies and stuff to work. We live in a society now where gas $4 a gallon, eggs $3 a carton. You know what I mean? So we live in a society where everybody has to pitch in for the greater good of the overall family dynamic. Okay. So let me know in the comments, y'all. I'm getting up on an hour. Let me know in the comments. I thank you to everybody. Let me read these messages, but I thank everybody that has participated in this conversation in the live chat. Let me see what I see. Mom says accountability plays a big part in lots of failed situations. Yep, that's right. That's true. That's very true. And she said some equate accountability as weakness. People sometimes want to stand firm on their beliefs. That's true. That's true too, man. That is very true. That is very true as well. Sometimes your beliefs can mess you up, man. Sometimes your beliefs can mess you up. Just because you were brought up with certain beliefs don't necessarily mean that those beliefs are how the world works. You know what I mean? The world don't always work around what your belief systems are. Now, if you could find somebody that falls into the category of your belief systems and bully for you, congratulations. I'm so glad for you. But depending on the severity of your beliefs, you might not find that. You might not find that. And if you don't find that, that might mean that you need to make some slight adjustments to what your belief systems are. That don't mean you have to abandon them. That means that you just have to look at your beliefs and be like, okay, what's realistic and what's unrealistic? That's right. Family structures. Does reality still exist in human? I think reality does still exist in human nature, to a degree. To a degree. But that goes back to what I was just saying about the beliefs. People's reality is literally based upon what happened in the four walls that they grew up in and the people that lived inside those four walls. That's their reality. Some people's reality is that the earth is flat. Some people's reality is that the earth is round. Some people's reality is that Jesus is black. Some people's reality is that Jesus is white. Some people's reality is that they didn't go to the moon. Some people's reality is, they went to the moon. So everybody's reality is based upon the environment that they came up in. We expect everybody to believe the same things that we believe, but that's unrealistic. That's unrealistic. We can't expect everybody to believe the same things that we believe because, truth be told, everybody comes from different backgrounds. You can grow up in the same house with a person and have totally different belief systems. Y'all could be twins, come from the same womb, and have totally different belief systems. So I think a person's reality is based solely upon how they grew up. And if they're willing to expand their mind beyond what they were shown. Some people believe that women should be totally submissive. Some dudes believe that women should be totally submissive and they should only, do what I tell them to do, how I tell them to do, when I tell them to do it. She need to be at home. She need to be barefoot, pregnant. Some people still hold those beliefs. That's their reality. That's what they believe should be the role of their woman. Now, your reality might be in for a rude awakening because that just ain't how women operate nowadays. There might be some, and you might have to do a little soul searching. But majority of women nowadays have a strong degree of independence, and that is wonderful. That is wonderful. My wife works in the industry where women come in because the husband didn't pay, he done died, and the husband done paid all the bills, and she don't know what to do. He gone. She don't know how to pay a bill. On the flip side of that, there's men that come in, their wife done died. He don't know how to cook. He don't know how to do laundry. He don't know how to do none of the stuff that is necessary for him to get out of the house in the morning because she always did it for him. We can't live like that nowadays, man. Everybody has to play. Everybody got to play all the bases. Everybody got to play all the bases. You got to be able to multitask in a relationship, in a marriage. And the reality of that is it's going to take some work. It's going to take some teamwork. So, all right, y'all. Well, I appreciate you very much. Like I said, thank you to everybody in the what you say, man? Yep. Reality is based on, that's right. Yep. Thank you to everybody that has been in these live chat. This is the first time I actually had feedback in the live chat. I appreciate it so much. If you are watching this video after the fact, this is live. I'm recording it live now. But if you're watching this video after the fact, by all means, please let me know in the comments what you think the cause is behind people getting married or not getting married like they used to, especially black people. Let me know. Let me know what you think this is. And don't be in my comments on no foolishness either. This ain't got nothing to do with no racism stuff. I'm asking about black people because I'm black. I don't care about no other race. Y'all concerned is y'all concerned. I have to be concerned about the people that look like me, and so it ain't got nothing to do. I don't dislike nobody, but my conversation today is about the people that resemble me, that look like me, and what can we do to to improve upon the family dynamic in our community, because I think it is a necessary tool for us to be able to grow not only as individuals but as people. And so if you're watching this video and you made it this far, please, by all means, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if what you think is the reason that people are afraid to get married. All right. All right. So if you're new to the channel, thank you very much for stopping by. Please, by all means, consider subscribing if you have not already done so. And if you do subscribe, let me rephrase that. When you subscribe, please, pretty please, make sure you click the reminder bell to not miss another video. And by you doing so, it helps my channel to grow. All right. I want the channel to grow because I really want to engage with people and just have good conversations. Like I always say at the end of every video, there's a lot of places that you can go to hear about drama and to hear people arguing and screaming back and forth. I don't want this to be a space for that. I want this to be a place where we can come and have constructive conversations. We can laugh a little bit. We can talk about some goofy stuff. We can also talk about some stuff that, you know, has some substance to it. I love family. I love relationships. That's the kind of stuff that you're going to hear me talk about on this podcast, Totally Disgusted. Not political. Do I keep up with politics and stuff? Yes, I do. But I don't want my platform to be based upon that, solely because in order for me to stay abreast of what's going on in the world, that means I got to watch that stuff and I got to allow it to seep into my psyche and keep me stressed out and tired and frustrated because I'm trying to discuss the chaos that exists in this world. There's a whole lot of platforms that discuss that chaos. If that's what you want to listen to, by all means, I invite you to go visit them. But when you get tired of them yelling and arguing and pointing fingers and screaming and hollering and doing all of that kind of stuff, come on back over here to Derek Andre TV and Totally Disgusted, and let's have a good time and let's decompress and enjoy each other's company. All right. So share this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I love y'all, man. Be peace, be love, be one. And I will see you in the next video. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to Totally Disgusted. Make sure to like, comment, and tell a friend.